Hello, and welcome to another vlog. Now, this week's a little different because we went to Maidstone Comic Con, and this is basically the vlog for Maidstone Comic Con. I've never been to this event before, but it was being run by Creed Creations, I believe. Don't hold me to that. It's I know it as Creed Comic Cons, and they basically run a lot of Comic Cons in the UK. So I was offered a stall for this event. I didn't take it because I've never been before. So it was sort of like we wanted to go to a Comic Con and we wanted to sort of spy out and see if this went was good in the future. Now, I had a mixed experience. I had a great morning. It was really fun. Uh, but there were things that could definitely have been done better. I do regret not doing the event. The event was packed. We turned up 20, 30 minutes after the doors opened. We brought like the early ticket. So general admission I think was on like 12:30, and then you could get in from like 10:30. We got the 10:30 ticket, which was sold out, and so was the 11 a.m. So I expected it to be busy, but not as busy as it was. It was packed the whole time, and it didn't seem to ease up. It just seemed to be getting more packed. Now, I had a carer's ticket. So the idea was that I got a ticket, paid for my ticket, and then I got a free carer's pass. Apparently how it was explained to me on the website and through questioning was that I would go to like the people at the beginning with my disability information, and I would say, "Hey, I need a carer's pass. Here's my information." Get to the door. I say that they have no idea. They're like, oh, no one told me about disability. No idea. So for my first, like the second we walked in, it was very clear there was no arrangements for disability. He literally just, I was like, oh, I've got my paperwork. And he was like, oh, don't worry about it. He was like, just go in. So like they didn't check. There was no check. There was no like, with MCM or other conventions, and I know they're really big conventions, but you'd get like a sticker or something to be like, hey, I might need additional assistance or something like that. None of that. There was nothing in place of disability, and it really showed. The aisles were so tight, and I don't think they would have necessarily been bad if it wasn't for the amount of people there. But it was one hall, and it really needed to be multiple halls. It sort of felt like the venue was not adequate for the size of the event. There was a lot of stalls, especially like the last aisle, you'll see it later in this vlog, was packed. Like you couldn't walk. I was getting like smashed about, my bag was getting pulled. It was stressing me out quite a lot. So it wasn't like the most fun of experience at points. Uh, I could not imagine doing this event go into this event if you were in like a wheelchair or in a mobility scooter because there's no way there's no way you would have gone anywhere. So yeah, that's something that needs to be worked on because we're in like 2025 now. There's a lot of people with disabilities or chronic illnesses or anxiety, and having nothing in place to help someone is not good. I mean, I don't think I've ever been to an event, like even a small event, where there hasn't been like, this is your first aid, or like there's something like, okay, the aisles, we need to get a wheelchair in, or nothing. There was nothing. In like, this footage here is like from 10:30 when it's just sort of open, we just turned up. And it didn't look too bad at first, but it gets really bad really quick. And it was like packed. To the point where I was like, I think we spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours there. And we left. And I might have spent more time if it wasn't so overwhelming. But yeah, it wasn't great on that aspect. Now, what I didn't know they were going to do, and this is why I sort of didn't do the event, they actually had like, it wasn't an artist alley, but they had a lot of artists there, like sort of cute stickers and badges. They had a lot of them stalls, and they were doing really well, which was amazing to see. Because every time you go to an event like this, you just like, as a fellow artist and small business, you just want to see them doing well. and they did so well. So that was great. There was like people running out of their stickers and stuff, and it was so great to see that. It was a little bit of a weird layout, I guess. They hadn't really put certain things together, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes you'll go to a convention or a hall or whatever, and they'll have like the Star Wars stalls together, the anime stalls together, like all these things in their own sections. There was none of that. It was like a donut stall next to a cosplayer, next to a toy reseller, next to a comic book, next to Pokemon cards, next to someone selling art. Like there was no plan like that. So it was a bit weird, but I think in a way that helped because people went to every stall. Now I'm really upset about this because I loved that t-shirt pack. He put it aside for me, and then because the amount of people, I forgot to go back. I'll admit, when we left, I was getting very, very stressed. I wish I took like earmuffs or something because I was getting so stressed. The noise was stressing me out. And it doesn't help that you'll see at the end. The last aisle had like a Game of Thrones cosplayer who was taking pictures of people on the Iron Throne. That's all well and good, but the aisle was tiny. So it was just like loads of people queuing to try and get pictures, people trying to look at the stalls on that aisle. It wasn't working. It just wasn't working at all. And it was a bit of a nightmare. So I was just like, I'm just not going to right now. And that's why I left. And I sort of left happy because it was a fun day, got some good pictures, had fun, got to spend the day with my dad. But at the same time, I was a bit like, I feel like I can't breathe. So there's something needs to be done. I actually know this was at Maidstone Leisure Centre. Now I've been there for other events, and this is the main hall, but they have like some side rooms that aren't like halls, but they have rooms. I don't know why they didn't use them. They really should have, because that would have solved all these problems really. But they just kept it in this one hall and the hallway. There is a couple of guests. I think there was like 3 or 4 guests at the like who were there signing. They're like in the corner of the hall. But that was next to where like the photo op was for like the Creed conventions. So it was just a bit messy everywhere. There was some incredible cosplayers at the event though. There were some really good cosplayers that I thought about going in cosplay, and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to go in cosplay because I don't think many people are going to actually be there. But there was a big showing from cosplayers, which was brilliant. Watching this back now, I feel like I missed a lot of stalls because it just was like hard to focus. And certain aisles were fine. Certain aisles were like really easy. You could go up, you could spend like 10, 15 minutes looking at stuff, no problem. Some aisles you couldn't, I couldn't even see the stall. So it was sort of like aisle by aisle basis. I feel like I'm getting a little petty with my criticism, but there is like positives coming, I swear. But I think the other thing for me is food. There was nothing. The only option to eat or drink was a bottled water vending machine and the donut stand. That was it. Now I know this hall has like its own like bar, like its own little kitchen area. I guess sort of what they had done is they had packed it with stalls. And instead of like using the other rooms and like making spread it out a bit, they had packed the room of hall like with stalls, so they weren't going to open the latch. But the idea is this started at 10:30 for early bird tickets. It didn't finish till 4 p.m. How can anyone go that period with nothing to eat? Like, just nothing to eat. And it wasn't just even that, it was the fact like there's no food options at Maidstone Leisure Centre that we could have used because there's like where the swimming pools are, they have their own like little cafe, but you can't get in there. So there was like no options. And maybe I was just a little grumpy. I'd just taken my medication. I meant to take it with food and I hadn't because I was like rushing to get to the event. And I was like, I can't go till 4 o'clock without food and like just not really any drinks. So yeah, I mean, I'm being a little picky, but I just think if you've got an event from 10:30 till 4, there should have been something else, something a bit more substantial than a donut. Like, I don't know. Just, I don't know what exactly I mean, but just something a little bit more. And also, I think the problem with that as well is that in the afternoon, they actually had scheduled events. I wasn't there for these. I had left by that point. So I don't know where they were or what they did, but I know there was meant to be like a competition. Um, there was like some arts and crafts activities. There was like, I don't know, just different things going on in the afternoon. I feel like if you were to go to this again, I would recommend going in the afternoon. I wouldn't go straight away from the beginning. I just think by the time you get to any of the events happening, you'd probably feel like you can't really breathe. You're overwhelmed and you're hungry. So, but I think it's just like minor issues because it was a good event. They had some great stalls that I wouldn't expect like a convention of this size to have. They had their own like sort of gaming area. Believe it was 4 ball games. This is a really cool one. It was like a ice maze, so you're all these little penguins, and you've got to like flip the penguins from the beginning of the maze to the end. It sort of reminded me of a RuneScape trial. Yeah, so this was really fun. We played this for a bit. My dad absolutely beat me at it. It was very depressing because I really thought I was going to win and I didn't. But that was really cool for a convention this size to have like actual games and like be able to sit down and play them was so fun. Also, having artists like an artist alley type stalls, very rare for a convention this size, but brilliant. Not brilliant for my bank balance, but brilliant for me as a lover of small artists. They also had some people who had worked on comic books and some comic book artists and things like that, which was really cool to see. They had a lot of toy sellers, and the toy sellers I would say were very reasonably priced. I've been to a lot of conventions where they have like overpriced, like because it's a convention and typically you have bad signals, so you can't like be eBaying. But no, I would say most things I saw were very reasonably priced. Nothing was outrageous. Also, one of the things that I love so much about this event, which I think every event should do, and I never see, they had so many props. Like they had all these, like the Beetlejuice at the beginning, they had like an ET, they had Mario, they had like the Iron Throne. There was so many. There was like an Avengers one. All of them were free, which was brilliant. Because a lot of times you go to conventions, even big conventions, and they're like, "Oh, you want to start the Iron Throne? Well, that will be £5." Like it was so great to see that these were all free opportunities, and it really helped like you get involved. So yeah, I think that was really great on the activities front. I have no idea where this cosplay competition would have took place because I just don't think there was any space for it. But they did it. I'm sure it was somewhere, but I have no idea where they would have done it. It was actually really great. I found some stuff because I collect Star Wars figures. I found some stuff that I actually needed, which was very rare because even when I went to the Star Wars convention, 90% of the toys I had. So to find stuff I actually needed was great. Everyone, all the sellers were lovely. Lovely. Like there were people like this guy he's written 2 books and he was selling his books. He's an independent author. Loads of people who were like had books or their comic art or things like that. People selling their jewelry, people selling like their crochet plushies. It was so nice to see because it wasn't I expected it to be more like just people reselling. The majority of stalls at the convention were people who had made things or were drawing and stuff, and that was brilliant. You could also get a couple of the stalls were doing like art on the day, which is I would say a very like MCM Comic Con thing. So to see it at a small scale like this was so good. Every stall holder I met was lovely. I felt a bit weird about taking the camera and vlogging. Um, no one minded the camera. In fact, most of the stall holders loved the camera and they were like, there's a vlog. So it was really nice to get that reaction. I tried a lot of business cards with people. So that was really fun. I brought a lot of cute artwork. It was actually a really good event. There was just sort of a criticism to, in the future, just maybe like think about different people who would attend. Because if you had someone with a wheelchair or a disability, it was going to be incredibly difficult for them. And that's just something that, like, it needs to be thought out a bit more. But yeah, so it was a great event, and I was shocked by some of. the things about how like it was so much sort of taken like a big MCM megacon, and yet they did it on a small scale and they did it so well. And actually, I just loved the fact it wasn't like Temu sellers and things like that. It was people who are actually selling their real artwork. And I wish I could have spent more with so many people. But yeah, some incredibly talented artist. And yeah, we got artwork for every house, I think. My dad got a load of artwork. I got artwork. My dad's a big Doctor Who fan. He was able to get loads of Doctor Who stuff, which was he was really happy about. I even got my husband like that Darth Maul picture because he loves Darth Maul. So yeah, there was just some really great stuff, and it was a good event. It's just one of them events where it's like, I guess until you have someone turn up in a wheelchair, you just don't really, I guess, think about it, and that's a problem. It's something you should think about. Yeah, so this is the Iron Throne, but this was a nightmare at points. Some points it was easy, some points it was a nightmare, like it would just be trying to get over there. It was a pain. But they had all these swords, they were really cool from all the different like characters of Game of Thrones. It's not my thing, but it was really cool to actually see like the blades and like the actual artistry of the blades and all the gems on the handles. That was cool. Yeah. So I just know in a minute my photos are coming up, so I'm just like trying to remember where we were at this point. Some of the cosplays were amazing. I don't know, maybe I underestimated an event of this size because I really thought no one would do it. And I didn't think it'd be busy like this, but like it was a big community day really, and it was great because everyone was so happy, everyone was so talkative. Um, Loads of people were happy to be on the vlog. Loads of people as well were like, the cosplay wanted to be on the vlog, like wanted to say hi. It was really great. It was a good day. And I definitely taken from this that I will definitely be looking at doing Creed conventions in the future. I'll be definitely looking at doing some. I think they are well run events for stall holders and for that sort of stuff. I will definitely be sending a little email to just be like, hey, one thing that you need to do is that disability policy. Like that needs to be better. And that's, that can be fixed. I guess it is just like if you don't know, like if you don't have the issue, you don't know till someone tells you. So I will be definitely letting them know that is something that needs to be improved. Also, I think it was really cool. You'll see it in the exit. Is like they had loads of cars. Well, like not like loads. There was two, but like they had the Back to the Future car, and the people obviously who owned the car actually dressed up. So a lot of people were getting pictures there, and they also had a Lightning McQueen. I thought that was brilliant. They had put that where they had because it's right on the entrance of the leisure centre. And people who weren't coming for the event but were coming maybe to the leisure centre or to the park nearby saw them, came over and was like, wow, what's this? So I think it also helped bring more people in and like pay on the day people, which was pretty genius. And again, they were lovely. They would take a lot of time taking pictures with everyone. They didn't charge. It was just like, hey, jump in the car, we'll take pictures with you, which was great. It's always nice to see that people don't charge for that stuff. So now overall, I'd say they're very good events. I would definitely recommend them to stall holders, especially artists, which is hard to find conventions that are good for artists a lot of the time. Definitely recommend, but there is some issues. And I think they could be really easily fixed. So overall, it was a great day. I would definitely recommend it.